Hi everyone! We know that for many business students, studying business law can be hard. So we've decided to create a series of screencasts to introduce to you an overview on contracts. There is a total of 5 screencasts on contract formation. The first is a summary. The other 4 goes into detail of each element of contract formation.
So here goes. Contracts are essentially known as agreements between parties, or offer and acceptance. However, there's more to it than that. Contracts has 4 elements. With offer and acceptance, there must be intention and consideration. Let's just have a quick look at their definitions. An offer is a party willingness to enter into a contract with another party under certain terms.
So when studying contract law, we're concerned of whether or not an offer is made, not its literal definition.
In the meantime, acceptance is a communication to the offerer that his offer is agreed to.
Again, the courts will view whether or not an acceptance is made.
When it comes to intention, it is concerned whether is the contract legally enforceable. Parties of the contract must have established that the agreement was legally binding.
Therefore, agreements that have a domestic nature aren't really contracts. For example, if a sibling loses a bet and has to wash the dishes after dinner, if he doesn't act, it's not legally binding.
And finally, consideration is a concern whether both parties have seriously considered the contractual consequences at the time of their agreement.
Here, the consideration is viewed from an objective point of view. Thus, the courts will measure the detriment and benefits of a contract's performance rather than examining whether a person mentally thought, "Ooh, I've considered this."
So in summary, there are 4 elements in contract formation: offer acceptance, intention, and consideration. That's it for part 1 for today. Check out our other screencasts for the details of each element.
What we want to do is look a little more closely at each of these, the offer, the acceptance, and the counteroffer, all of which make up part of the agreement process. So let's start with the offer. What's an offer? Well, an offer is just a manifestation of a willingness to enter into an agreement. The person that makes that is called the offeror, and it's going to create a power of acceptance, the power of acceptance in the offeree. Right? So what's a very simple example? I will buy your car for $5,000, right? That's an offer. Now this may sound very obvious, but there are some nuances to offers, and I think it's a little bit easier to remember how this works by animalizing the process, And I've brought some props. So I want you to think of the offer as a caterpillar, right? Cute, fuzzy, but ultimately very fragile. Now, if you accept the offer, then this thing called the caterpillar turns into a beautiful butterfly, right? You've got a contract, and it's a thing of beauty that you'll remember forever. But until it's accepted, right, you just have this offer, this caterpillar squirming around on the ground. And remember, caterpillars are very fragile. Offers are very fragile. Once squashed, right, once the offer is destroyed, you can't scrape up a dead caterpillar off the ground and turn it into a butterfly, right? It's squashed. You can't revive it.
Most contract problems you have probably looked at in your class deal with exactly 2 parties and 2 sides. In the real world, it's not always that simple. So we have to discuss what happens when there are third parties involved. There are different types of third parties. They have their own names. And depending on what they're doing, whether they're receiving performance or whether they're being pushed into a contract that otherwise looks like it's being performed by two parties. Let's look at the definitions we can attach to these third parties first and foremost. A third party is not a party to a contract, so admittedly the label is misleading. But it's one that or who will still benefit from performance. You on the one hand have to distinguish between incidental or indirect third-party beneficiaries, and on the other hand, intended or direct third-party beneficiaries. Incidental third-party beneficiaries are individuals who benefit indirectly from performance.